Hello, everyone. Okay, we are doing Act 3 notes right now. Okay, so we've already gone through scene 1, which was the big fighting scene where some deaths happened. Mercutio, Tybalt, and we learned that Romeo has been banished from Verona. He is no longer allowed back in the city of Verona. So he found that out from Friar. Romeo found out that he was banished and he is heartbroken. He said he'd rather be dead than banished. Um, and then Juliet found that out from Nurse, and she's pretty heartbroken too. And the nurse was a little mad that she was so heartbroken about Romeo's banishment and not so heartbroken about her own cousin Tybalt's death. Okay, so we're going into scene 4 now of this act. And remember that death just happened in the Capulet family. So here we have Capulet, Lady Capulet, and Paris are walking together. So if you guys don't remember Paris, Paris is the one who's trying to get Juliet's hand in marriage. So Capulet, Lady Cap, and Paris are walking together. And Capulet says that because of the terrible recent events, Tybalt's death, he has had no time to ask his daughter about her feelings for Paris. Okay, they've just been way too busy. So he's about to leave when Paris is about to leave when Capulet calls him back and makes what he calls a desperate tender of my child's love. This is in Act 3, Scene 4, lines 12 and 13. So Capulet says, he thinks his daughter will listen to him. Then he corrects himself and says that he is sure Juliet will abide by his decision. So he is sure she's going to listen and obey. He promises Paris that the wedding will be held on Wednesday. Okay, so let's take a minute here. Then stops suddenly and asks what day it is. Paris responds that today is Monday. So 2 days from now, my daughter is going to marry you. And does she know it yet? No, she doesn't. So Capulet decides that Wednesday is too soon and that the wedding should instead be held on, guess what? Just 1 day later, Thursday. Okay, so this is the end of this scene. It's a very short scene. It's just talking about and planning for the wedding that Juliet is going to be a part of, but does not know yet. Okay, so scene 5 starts. Just before dawn, Romeo prepares to lower himself from Juliet's window to begin his exile. So she's like, you cannot be here, okay? Oh, but in the meantime, before he leaves, Juliet's trying to convince Romeo that this bird that they're hearing is a call from the bird, the nightingale, okay, which is a night bird, rather than from the lark. That's who Romeo thinks it is. It's a lark that's making this bird call, which is a morning bird. So Romeo is like, they keep going back and forth, like, no, the bird I'm hearing is a nightingale. No, it's a lark, lady. I have to leave, or like it's exile or death. So Romeo needs to leave before the morning comes, or he'll be put to death, like I just said. Okay. Then, in that same place, Juliet's bedroom, the nurse enters to warn Juliet that Lady Capulet is on her way to the room. Okay. And she has some important news that the nurse just happened to overhear a little earlier. So, Romeo and Juliet tearfully part. Oh, Romeo climbs out of the window and standing on the orchard below her window, Romeo promises that he and Juliet will see one another again. Okay. Romeo hurries away as Juliet pulls in the ladder and begs fate to bring her back, or to bring him back to her quickly. So this is like one of the common themes, that fate is going to take care of everything that we need. Like destiny, our destiny is already written in the stars. So she is just begging fate that this actually comes back to her, that he comes back to her. Okay. So what Lady Capulet's doing here, she calls to her daughter, and Juliet's out there wondering why the mom would come to speak to her so early in the morning. Okay, so Lady Cap, let's let's recap here, is unaware that her daughter is already married to who? To Romeo. So she enters the room and mistakes Juliet's tears as continued grief for Tybalt, her cousin, who just lost his life. Okay, so um, she's really crying over the fact that Romeo has to leave her in his banishment. But Lady Capulet thinks that she's still mourning over the death of her cousin. So Lady Capulet tells Juliet of her deep desire to see the villain Romeo dead. And this is Act 3, Scene 5, line 80. So this is another thing, this is something that Shakespeare does a whole lot. He makes a lot of like complicated little puns every now and then, like in his writing. Okay, so this is what the next one is that Shakespeare writes well. Okay. Um, so in these complicated puns, Juliet leads her mother to believe that she agrees, that she also wishes Romeo's death, but really she is really stating the fact that she loves him. Okay. Yeah, just a cool little thing Shakespeare does. So, Lady Cap is thinking that Juliet also wants Romeo dead, but does she really? Heck no, she doesn't. Okay. So, Lady Cap tells Juliet about Capulet's plan for her to marry Paris on Thursday. This was kind of a loaded line. All right, so this is her revealing. Lady Capulet tells Juliet about Capulet's plan for her to marry Paris on Thursday, explaining that he wishes to make her happy by setting up this marriage. But how do we think Juliet's going to react to this? Juliet is appalled. She rejects the match, saying, I will not marry yet, and when I do, I swear it shall be Romeo, whom you know I hate, rather than Paris. Okay, so she is just openly defying what her parents want for her. That came from Act 3, Scene 5, lines 121 through 123. Okay, and then someone enters the bedroom. Who do you guys think it is? It is Capulet. Okay, so Capulet enters the chamber, and when he learns of Juliet's determination to defy him, he becomes enraged. He starts yelling at her and threatening to disown Juliet. She's in a state of shock, basically, that Capulet would act like this. But he is yelling at her, saying, you will no longer be my daughter if you refuse to marry Paris in these 3 days' time. Okay. Juliet, if she refuses to obey him, when Juliet asks her mother to intercede and to try and like calm Capulet down, her mother denies her help. So she's like in the same boat that Capulet is. Lady Cap, she's not exactly yelling at her like how Capulet is, but will she try to calm Capulet down in the moment? No, she's not about that. Okay. So after Capulet and Lady Capulet storm away, Juliet asks her nurse how she might escape her predicament. Okay. The nurse advises her to go through with the marriage to Paris. Okay. Yes, she knows that Romeo and nurse knows that Romeo and Juliet are married already, but she still advises Juliet to go through with this with another marriage to Paris. Okay. So her reasoning is that he is a better match. We'll go back here. He is a better match, she says. And Romeo is as good as dead. Okay. So, like, he's in a whole nother land. He can't even be here. So, he's as good as dead to you. So, Juliet is disgusted by the nurse's disloyalty, but she pretends to agree. Okay. She's just out here acting. So, Juliet pretends to agree with the nurse. And she tells her that she's going to make confession at Friar Lawrence's cell. Okay, so she's going to go to Friar Lawrence now and talk to him about it and see what he can do. So Juliet hurries to the friar, vowing that she will never again trust the nurse's advice. Yeah, she's very distraught by what the nurse has told her just now. So she also says if the friar is unable to help her, Juliet comments to herself that she still has the power to do something. Okay. If Friar is unable to help her, she says to herself, she comments to herself that she still has the power to take her own life. Okay. If she cannot be with Romeo, if she's going to be forced into this marriage with Paris, she would rather take her own life than go through with that. Okay. All right. This is the end of Act 3. Um, getting into some crazy drama. Okay. All right, let me get out of here. Be ready for the next video.